What's up everyone, 40 the Broadway Saiyan here, and welcome back again to my YouTube channel, bringing you guys another exciting video on Dissidia Final Fantasy Opera Omnia. For this video, we're going to be going over the next upcoming character event, which is going to be featuring the debut of Arciella from Final Fantasy XI, and joining Arciella with this character event as synergy is going to be Rinoa, and also going to be Prishe, and our current Lost Chapters character, which is going to be Prompto. Some highlights to focus on for this particular video, we're going to be going over Arciella's kit, and I do have a special guest joining me for a discussion portion of this video, and you guys will see who that is when we actually get to that point in the video. And then we're also going to be going over Prishe's rework, because Prishe is going to be getting a rework. Rinoa's not getting anything, unfortunately, with this, outside of her 15 and 35 CP weapons being featured on the banner. In the banner, however, we're going to get a debut of all of Arciella's gear, including her EX, and we're also going to be getting the return of Prishe's EX, and both of those featured EX weapons can be realized upon the release of this character event. Now, as always, I want to give a big shout out to Rem and the Dissidia DB, because all of the information that you can find on this video comes directly from that website. And again, thanks to the Tonberry Troop, because they provide us with those lovely infographics to give you guys a summary of the characters that are going to be talked about on this video. So thank you again. There's going to be a link down below in the video description, as well as the pinned comments. And also, don't forget, guys, if whenever you guys watch my videos from here on out, or it's been happening for a while now, actually, but I do have cards that appear. Pretty much they're suggesting to you guys, you know, some of the other videos that I do, whether it's Opera Omnia related, Streets of Rage 4, my singing videos that I brought back. If you guys are interested in checking those out, just pay attention to those little cards that pop up. They usually pop up in the corner. And also be sure to check out the links down below for my social links, my Twitter, my Discord, my Twitch, and as well as some other cool content creators that I have listed down there with their Discords and things like that. So without further ado, let's go ahead and start the video and talk about the upcoming character Arciella for Global Opera Omnia. この力で今宵の闇よそこまでですおしまいにします我が元へ集いたまえ Arciella enters the world of Opera Omnia as a very powerful and versatile support unit. Her kit focuses on two unique buffs called Ascension and Dissension. Ascension is a unique buff from her skill 1 that increases Arciella's max brave by 40%, applies a brave regen to the party based on 40% of initial brave, and raises the party's attack and initial brave by 40%. It also changes Arciella's brave attack to brave attack plus Ascension, and her HP attack to harmonic displacement. The party-based effects are applied to Arciella's allies as an aura as long as this unique buff is active on her. Dissension is a unique buff from her skill 2 that increases Arciella's max brave by 40% and attack by 20%, and raises the party's attack by 40% and reduces all enemy speed by 10%. It also changes her brave to brave attack plus Dissension and her HP attack to darkest hour. Just like Ascension, this unique buff's effects to Arciella's allies, and this time her enemies are applied as an aura as long as this unique buff is active on her. One thing to note is that Arciella cannot have both of these unique buffs active at the same time. One will dispel the other when Arciella applies it to herself. Arciella has two additional unique buffs, the first being Fast Cast coming from her skill 1. Fast Cast restores the party's brave back to initial brave within one turn after either dealing HP damage or getting broken. Her last unique buff is called Heirloom, which increases Arciella's attack and max brave by 40%, and also applies a brave regen to the party based on 40% of initial brave. Just like her other unique buffs, the effects applied to her allies are an aura as long as the buffs are active on Arciella. Next, let's go over her transformed HP attack commands, Harmonic Displacement and Darkest Hour under either Ascension or Dissension unique buffs. When Ascension is active, Arciella has access to Harmonic Displacement, which is a 3-hit, non-elemental single-target Magic Brave plus single-target HP attack with a 150% Brave damage potency, 120% Brave overflow, increases Arciella's allies' Brave by 50% of HP damage dealt, and grants her fast cast for 3 turns. When Dissension is active, Arciella has access to Darkest Hour, which is a 5-hit, non-elemental single-target Magic Brave plus single-target HP attack with a 250% Brave damage potency, 120% Brave overflow, increases Brave damage dealt to debuff targets by 50%, and deals 20% HP splash damage to other targets. Arciella's C65 ability is called Ability Recovery Attack All, which restores 1 usage of her Skill 1 and Skill 2 up to their initial values and applies a 10% attack increase to your party. Arciella's most noteworthy passives are her C50 passive, which increases her initial Brave and max Brave by 10% while buffed, her C54 passive, which increases the party's max Brave by 40% and attack by 20% while buffed, her C58 passive, which increases her attack and speed by 40% while buffed, and her C68 passive, which permanently increases the party's initial Brave and max Brave by 10%. Next, let's take a look at her skills, starting with her Skill 1 Ascension and Expunge Magic. Using this skill, Arciella dispels Dissension and applies Ascension for 10 turns. She then follows up with a 5-hit, non-elemental AoE Magic Brave plus AoE HP attack with a 300% Brave damage potency, 150% Brave overflow, recovers the party's HP by 100% of the HP damage dealt up to 40% of max HP, and divides the HP damage equally amongst multiple targets. The Brave damage is increased by 60% when attacking a single target. Arciella also dispels all enemy buffs and grants fast cast to herself for 3 turns. Her Skill 2, Dissension and Sight Unseen, dispels Ascension and applies Dissension for 10 turns. She then follows up with a 5-hit, non-elemental AoE Magic Brave plus single-target HP attack with a 370% Brave damage potency, 150% Brave overflow, and deals 50% HP splash damage to other targets. Arciella also inflicts a 30% max Brave and attack reduction on all enemies for 6 turns, and HP attack silence on all enemies for 3 turns. Her EX ability prior to its realization equips her with the EX ability called Nakul's Vengeance, which recovers the party's HP by 20% of max HP, and then delivers an 8-hit non-elemental AoE Magic Brave plus AoE HP attack with a 330% Brave damage potency, 150% Brave overflow, and divides the HP damage equally amongst multiple targets. The Brave damage is increased by 60% against a single target. This EX ability grants Arciella Heirloom for 6 turns. Upon realizing her EX weapon, Arciella gains the following upgrades. 0 out of 3 increases her EX ability's Brave damage potency by 80% and Brave overflow by 30%. 1 out of 3 permanently increases her max Brave by 40% and attack by 30%. 2 out of 3 allows Arciella to start with Heirloom for 6 turns, and on her first turn, she does not consume an ability usage, no action delay, and does not increase turn count except for Friend and Summon phases. Finally, 3 out of 3 further improves her EX ability with 80% increased Brave damage potency, 20% increased Brave overflow, and now heals the party's Brave based on 20% of the HP damage dealt. The C-type sphere unlocked from this EX weapon is called Break Hit Brave Regen Short, which allows the equipped character to grant a Brave recovery to the party based on 10% of initial Brave for 3 turns when breaking or attacking a broken target. Optimum artifact passes for Arciella are Attack plus 108 because of her high Brave hit count and either Max Brave plus 330 or Sword Maiden boost 2-star. While initial Brave plus 170 might seem ideal, her constant buff swapping makes her Brave regen effect a bit inconsistent. Prishe receives a much-needed rework with the upcoming Arciella character event. Her C54 passive now increases her max Brave and attack while she is buffed. Her Skill 1, One Ilm Punch, now gets 1 additional usage, a tremendous Brave damage potency increase, 120% Brave overflow, and now triggers an HP attack after usage. She also recovers Brave to herself based on 30% of the HP damage dealt. This skill now has a low action delay and does not add to the turn count except during Friend and Summon phases. her Howling Fist Transfixion is upgraded to a plus variant, which now delivers a 3-hit single-target melee brave, plus 2-hit single-target holy magic brave, plus single-target HP attack, with a tremendous brave damage potency increase, 180% brave overflow, and improves the critical rate up buff by increasing its effects and extending its duration by 3 turns. Her Backhand Blow Detonation is upgraded to its plus variant, now triggering an HP attack after usage. Lastly, her Howling Fist Fusion recovers Brave to herself based on her attack before the Brave hits, and then delivers a 3-hit single-target melee Brave, plus 2-hit single-target fire and holy magic Brave attack. Her skill 2 spinning attack gets 1 additional usage, increased Brave hits to 4, a tremendous Brave damage potency increase, 150% Brave overflow, and now deals an AoE HP attack with the HP damage being split amongst multiple targets. Her Backhand Blow Detonation is upgraded to its plus variant, which is now a 3-hit single-target melee Brave, plus 2-hit single-target wind magic Brave attack, plus single-target HP attack with a 50% splash damage to other targets, and a tremendous Brave damage potency increase, increased critical damage, and a 160% Brave overflow. Lastly, her Howling Fist Fusion is upgraded to its plus variant, now triggering an HP attack after both the melee Brave hits and the fire and holy Brave hits, and recovers Prishe's Brave based on 20% of the HP damage dealt. Prishe's returning EX weapon receives a realization with this event, which grants her the following upgrades. 0 out of 3 improves her EX ability with increased Brave hits to 6, a moderate Brave damage potency increase, extended duration of any existing buffs on Prishe by 5 turns, and inflicts Fire, Holy, and Wind Imperil on all enemies for 4 turns. 1 out of 3 permanently increases Prishe's max Brave and attack by a moderate amount. 2 out of 3 allows Prishe to start the quest with a max Brave up and physical attack up for 5 turns, grants access to Brave and HP attack plus for 10 turns, and instant access to her EX ability. Lastly, 3 out of 3 further improves her EX ability, which is now a 6-hit non-elemental single-target melee Brave plus HP attack executed twice that ignores defense with a tremendous Brave damage potency increase, and grants Prishe a free skill usage on her next turn. The A-type sphere unlocked from her EX weapon is called Weak Attack Boost Up Short, which allows the equipped character to increase their max Brave and attack by 10% for 3 turns when hitting a target's weakness. Recommended artifact passes for Prishe are Attack plus 108 and Max Brave plus 330. With this rework, Prishe becomes a pretty good option not only for damage but also with her triple imperil. While she's not necessarily meta or top tier with her new upgrades, she's solid if you're needing to fill a role for damage and elemental imperil. Hey guys, welcome to the discussion portion of this video. We're going to be talking about specifically Arciella, and I'm joined by a special guest. You guys might know who he is already. He's a very big content creator for the DFFOO community. Also, undoubtedly, one of the most skilled players that I know. And I've collabed with him before when Renoa first came out, but he's back again. Soul DFFOO, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself for people who might not know who you are?
Hey, 40. I appreciate the kind words saying I'm a skilled player. I don't know about all that, but hey guys, my name is Soul, and like 40 said, I make videos for the DFFOO community. I mainly focus on doing kind of challenge runs because I'm not a big fan of using meta. I'll still use them every once in a while, but my main focus is on, taking like Sephiroth, a 0 out of 3 Kate Sith, and then something else random, and trying to beat the latest Chaos stage with it. And it's a lot of fun. I've met a lot of amazing people, and yeah, it's been a blast. So 40, thank you for having me, man. It's great to be back.
Absolutely, man. And I do have to say that's also one of the reasons why I'm a huge fan of your content, is because you like to take the non-meta stuff and actually make them work. Like, for example, you've taken Team Soldier, Zack, Sephiroth, and Cloud to specific runs. Like, I see all of that, and I really, really enjoy your creativity and just trying to make, characters work that aren't necessarily completely optimum compared to like some of the meta. So kudos to you on that, bro. Like I said, one of the most skilled players that I know in the community.
Well, thank you, man. Thank you. It's, for me, I'm playing a game, and we're all playing a game to have fun. And my way to have fun is to sometimes make myself miserable in the process. But man, that feeling of, adulation when you finally get over the hump. And I'm taking a Sephiroth, a Zac, and a Cloud. They're all purple, and I have to bring Ifrit because at this point, Sephiroth is hitting for just the poor man. He's hitting for just meager hits every time on Fervent Blow, and I'm just doing everything in my power to make it work. But it's so much fun too. I love it. Absolutely love it.
Awesome, man. Awesome. So anyways, we're going to just jump right into Arciella. The first things that we're going to talk about is why the heck is she so strong and why everybody is recommending to pull for her, and then maybe touching up on a little bit of potential weaknesses that this character has. So, Sol, what do you think so far? I mean, I know you've been looking at the Dissidia DB. I know you have your community, where you have a few JP players that have already messed around with her that can tell you about why she's so strong. But what do you think so far about why this character is just so good?
Well, I think first and foremost, 40, Arciella, I mentioned this in my most recent stream recap video, but I feel like Arciella is the first unit this month, the second one being Keis, or Keis, however you pronounce his name, later on this month. But they feel like the next big leap in terms of power creep on the player side. And I think a big reason for that for Arciella is not only is she a top tier support, but she's also an absolutely terrific debuffer as well. She has amazing longevity, which when you look at her kit on paper, the longevity thing, you might not realize that at the time, because her skill uses, this can be considered a weakness as well. We can touch upon this a little bit later. But her skill uses at base counter are actually kind of low on the lower side. They have 5 apiece. And so you might not think like, okay, well, how in the world is she going to get through like a super tanky chaos stage? Well, the answer, 40, in that is that her HP pluses for both of her stances, stance 1 and stance 2, are very, very good. If you want to touch upon those and tell these guys what they do.
Yeah, absolutely. So when she uses her skill 1, she'll place that Ascension buff, right? And essentially think of her skill 1 and her Ascension buff as like, this is more of like a defensive stance. And what that'll do is all the good stuff she gives, she raises her own max Brave, she gives a Brave Regent to the party in the form of an aura because the buff is only active on her, and she also raises the party's attack and initial Brave. Let's not forget she also gets a second unique buff off of this that acts as an aura to the party, which what it does is anytime your party members deal HP damage or they get broken, they get their turn to accelerate from being broken, getting their Brave back is accelerated by a turn. So in a sense, she helps prevent your party members from getting broken, and that works with Brave Regent as well. And the HP attack that she gets is called Harmonic Displacement, and it's actually not bad of an HP attack plus command. It's hits 3 hits. It increases, allies Brave by 50% of HP damage dealt. When you upgrade, I believe that jumps up to like 100% of HP damage dealt or something like that. And like I said, because she has an EX ability that is also pretty fast at charging, this is a really, really good option. So in a sense, using these options, Harmonic Displacement coming from her skill 1, and then from her skill 2, the HP attack plus command Darkest Hour, it's a great way to build up that fast charging EX ability. And then that way, because she has that low ability count, you only necessarily really need to use her skills either if you have to take advantage of a Dispel, or if you have to take advantage of an HP attack silence, or if you have to refresh one of her buffs in order to keep her going. So that's where I see the strength of this character's longevity, is because of 1, her EX ability, pretty fast charge, and 2, you could take advantage of those really good HP attack plus commands.
Yeah, no doubt, 40, no doubt. I think an actual terrific character comp, kit-wise, to Arciella is Pinello, and I know a lot of people built Pinello and kind of know how she works, but just as a refresh for people that don't, Pinello is a unit where she has basically 2 stances, just like Arciella, and depending on what stance she's in, she gives the party different boosts and different buffs, etc., etc. And the thing with Pinello is that you don't want to spam abilities with her because she has a fast EX, just like Arciella. And ideally with Pinello, you use a skill and you get in a stance, and then you kind of, you use her Brave Plus or you use her HP Plus, and you kind of work that EX gauge up, bit by bit. And then you then have those skills available for when you're like, okay, I want my EX now, or okay, let's refresh some buffs, and then you can pop that ability, and then boom, there's your EX. And so I think Arciella and her are very alike in that sense, where, ideally with Arciella, you're going to pick a stance, right? And then you're going to kind of lean on that HP plus, and you're going to use that, over and over, and then you can switch stances as needed. As you mentioned prior in the video, when you use her skill 1, it's a complete party dispel on all the enemies, which, I mean, there's been plenty of times where, especially we're going to be seeing Dimensions End here very soon, Dimensions End 12, which is going to be, oh boy, that's that's going to be a nightmare. And so her party dispel there is going to be very, very good. And then, of course, with her skill 2, you'll have that HP silence along with max brave down and speed down, which, you can HP silence, that goes without saying, that's like striking gold right there. So I think ideally you definitely want to lean on that HP plus and then use those abilities when necessary, or basically if the fight's running down, you're like, okay, I'm going to go full offense and just lay down the smackdown,
Definitely, and let's not mention, the HP attack silence. When you have all of her passives equipped, that debuff lasts for 3 turns. So just imagine that being paired with like somebody like Cypher, for example, who we just got his EX, where he could place that debuff where the enemies can only deal you 0 brave damage. I mean, you can't die. You're not going to take any damage. That's pretty crazy if you think about it.
Oh, absolutely. And the possibilities really are endless, because we've had HP silence before with Kefka, but the way Kefka is, Kefka hasn't received his EX plus, of course, yet. He'll be getting it soon, but he doesn't have it quite yet. And so, I didn't really see a whole lot of people using Kefka, but there were a couple people in my Discord server especially that will vouch for the guy up and down, even to this day in Chaos, because that HP attack silence is so good. I mean, think of some bosses, that we fought against, like for example, the Vayne horse, from Vayne's Chaos, which we're going to be seeing again, Dimensions End 12. There's a very scripted part where the boss telegraphs, and it's like, this is going to be the end-all be-all destroyer kind of AoE HP attack. And Arciella, you use that skill too, 40, and the boss can't do anything. They're stuck there, standing there for 3 turns. I mean, it's, as far as DFFOO balance goes, I mean, that's about as bust as you can possibly get at the moment.
Absolutely. And also, one thing that I want to point out with Arciella is, if you take a look at the buffs that she applies, she only applies them to herself. They are all framed, so they can't be pushed off, meaning that whatever boss you're fighting has to dispel it, right? And the effects apply to your party as an aura. So another strength that I have to give this character is she can work with another support. So for example, you were mentioning Penelo. Just imagine Penelo and Arciella together. And then, since you are relying mainly on Arciella's HP attack pluses, you have Penelo who can battery her, and Arciella could battery herself. So pretty much her brave is going to be pretty much close to max, and then she's going to take advantage of the overflow that she has with those HP attack pluses. So you could run her with another support, because she doesn't actually provide buffs that take up slots on your ally. She only gives it to herself. So really powerful character.
Yeah, no doubt. And we were kind of discussing this a little bit earlier, but off camera, but if you pair her, like say with like an Int Brave Aura character, so let's say Selfie, let's say Lena, so you have this fast cast buff of RC, which is actually very unique, and you did touch upon that a little bit earlier, but that goes off of the character's Int Brave. So now you have a character like Lena, for example, that's already making the party's Int Brave spike, and she's also providing her own form of Brave Regen. So not only are you having these increased levels of Brave Regen coming in between turns, then when their turn rolls around, then they're getting even more Regen. I mean, if you build around Arciella, I mean, you can really make her into this kind of like a monster type of support that can hit like a DPS. And at that point, when you're pairing her with a support like, say, Penelo, Y'shtola, Lena, Selfie, et cetera, Rosa even, I mean, you're not even looking at 2 supports anymore, 40. You're looking at basically DPS characters that are going to hit for just crazy amounts of damage every single turn. And then this ties in her longevity, because you don't have to rely on a skill to do that damage you need. Now you can just tap HP plus, and all of a sudden Arciella is dropping 50, 60, 70k, a turn without even having to break a sweat. It's pretty remarkable to think about.
Definitely remarkable to think about, indeed. That's why, again, a lot of players have been saying, yo, Global, make sure to save for this character unless you somehow, for some reason, don't like this character, you hate this character, you don't really see the value in her, but there is just so much value in this character because she is a powerful support. She can work with another support, and she can push the offense herself. And I definitely want to touch up on her EX weapon now because this is going to be critical, especially, you know, not every player is going to have the amount of books or ingots to be able to purple this weapon. So something that Soul and I wanted to cover is, you know, what if you're on a budget with those ingots, or what if you don't even have a book? Where can Arciella, you know, sit at, like, you know, a let's just call it like a budget version of her EX, you know what I mean? Like, what if you can't purple it right away? Like, where do we think she can still function, you know, at a specific level on her EX, you know, without a full realization?
In my opinion, of course, with any character, you know, you can leave them at 0 out of 3 or base EX, and they'll still function to a degree. But in looking at Arciella's kit, my personal opinion on it, if you can't 3 out of 3 her, which you absolutely should if you can, but if you can't, I think ideally, at least in my opinion, I'd love to hear your opinion for you after this, but I would want to stick her at 2 out of 3, and 2 out of 3 is kind of steep, and it's not really a budget build, but 2 out of 3 gives her, among other things, a free ability use turn 1. Which, again, going back to her ability uses, she's sitting at 5 apiece. She has a C65 that restores 1, so we'll call it 6 apiece, right? But in a long chaos stage, a long drawn-out one, you know, 6 ability uses, you know, 12 total, isn't a whole lot. And so really having that first free ability use to where you can enter, okay, am I already, you know, are the bosses already coming at me hard? Do I need that second stance, you know, get those debuffs, that HP silence? Or can I go, you know, stance 1 and then immediately, you know, free turn and everything, just have, you know, the defensive buffs up and all the battery going. So I really think 2 out of 3 should be one you should target, but I'd love to hear what you think.
I agree with you with the 2 out of 3 because, like you mentioned, on her first turn, free ability usage, no action delay, so meaning, you know, she's going to take another turn right after, and that free turn it's a free turn, it doesn't count towards a turn count. So one reason why I would also recommend her at 2 out of 3, and like I said, I know, like you said, it was steep, is because it also allows you essentially a free way to charge up that EX. Because remember, her EX is fast. When you fully limit break it before even realizing it, it's at a fast charge rate. So you could count on using this EX ability quite often, even without realizing it if you think about it. But having that, you know, free ability usage, having that no action delay, and having that no turn increase at 2 out of 3, it essentially gives you, you know, one free way to be able to build up to that EX, which makes it really, really nice. Now, something that I wanted to add is I personally think that she could potentially still function even without realizing her EX weapon if you happen to not have any books, because of the fact that it's just such a fast EX ability. I mean, you'll pop a skill, and then because she's Arciella, she has really amazing HP attack pluses. You'll be relying on those unless you have to, like, dispel something, or you have to HP attack silence something, and then pretty soon, you know, you're already at her EX. So I think she could potentially function, if we're talking about a budget build, without even having to realize, just having her EX weapon at base fully leveled, fully limit broken. But let me know what your thoughts are on that.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with you. I think as a general rule, at least by one that I subscribe to, characters that have a slower EX charge, they really have to offer something else for me to be interested in them, because, you know, you can take characters that have been, you know, power crept, but if they have like a fast EX, they can still kind of hold their own, because, you know, EX skills, just by nature what they are much stronger than what they normally offer, and most of them have very, you know, unique buffs or gimmicks attached to them. And so, you know, slow characters I tend to avoid, with notable exceptions like Sync. Like, I love Sync. She's like just dummy thick girl that has this hammer that she's slow as hell, and she constantly delays herself, but she's so fun. But those slow EX characters, I mean, it just feels like they kind of get pushed away first because it's harder to keep them viable. Arciella having that fast EX, I mean, like you said, even without a book, she can still function because you're still getting, you know, the EX buff. You're still getting kind of the benefits of it. But, you know, again, it's kind of like a, you know, a rock and a hard place. You know, it's, if you don't have a book, then you got to do the best you can, and she's definitely still worth an investment. at that point. But obviously, as we all know, the more you can give any character, the better and better and better they'll get.
Absolutely, definitely, absolutely. And I want to go ahead and bring us up to our next topic for this discussion, which is going to be characters who have some similar functions to Arciella, because, we all know how RNG works, and not everybody is unfortunately going to be able to pull her full gear, depending on if RNG is nice to you or not. Not everybody has the same amount of gems or tickets as all the other. I know there's a lot of people that have saved, countless amount of gems and tickets, but not everybody will have that stash. So we want to lightly touch upon characters that have some similar functions to Arciella that could act as like a potential substitute, and maybe even characters also that work well with her that's not a support, that is more on the offensive side. So Sol, why don't you go ahead and get into that a little bit for us?
Sure. So I think a character that works very, very well with her right off the bat. I mean, we talked about earlier how characters with Int Brave auras are a great choice. But think about a character that we just got. He's one of the best supports that we have at the moment, and he lasts quite a while moving forward. And that's Ramza. Ramza, the big thing with Ramza, he has some very nice auras, but he also gives the party an attack up and a bravery gem buff. And then he also has the frame debuff from his EX. And because you mentioned this earlier, Arciella, she's about as party friendly of a support as you'll ever see. It reminds me a lot of like Agrias, where Agrias has like one single frame buff, and that frame buff is loaded. It's got 3 or 4 different effects attached to it: a bravery gen, an HP regen. It gives Agrias debuff resistance. It gives there's something else to it. Raises her Int Brave. So there's a lot in that one package, and Arciella is very similar to that, where she'll only have 1 or 2 buffs on her, or 3. I can't remember exactly how many frame buffs she has, but they're loaded buffs. And so now when you pair her with, let's say, Ramza, a generic buff character, but he also has auras, now you're looking at some crazy stuff right there. Now you can have in your third slot, you can have like a focused damage dealer, where let's say like Cypher. We just got Cypher, right? Cypher's got framed, at least 1 frame buff. No, I think 2 frame buffs, and then a max brave up. You pair him with Ramza, that's already a good call. And then you make Arciella that third slot. Oof! Now you're cooking with some gas right there.
Definitely, those are some great characters to mention. With some similarities, and also that can sync well with Arciella as a party member, just because she's a character that you can literally slot her in, and she'll deliver, and she'll deliver without having to like interrupt another character's mechanic or having to push off another character's buffs and things like that. And a character that I actually kind of think of that is a little similar to her, that we have, but we don't have her rework and her EX realization yet, is Aphmau. So Aphmau is another character, and this is because Aphmau is like the aura queen. Like, she has all these crazy auras, and if you take a look at Arciella, all of her buffs act as an aura to the party. Well, so does Aphmau. So Aphmau, I see, could also be a potential substitute for Arciella, although if you think about it, you should probably run them both at the same time, just because before, a little bit of a spoiler alert here for those of you that only play Global, but Aphmau gets pretty nuts. She's another support character that I highly recommend, that you guys should definitely go for, and if you pair her with Arciella, man, the combination is pretty nuts with the two of them together. And as far as offensive characters go, because she's a very aura-based support, I think characters like Lightning and Vayne and Arnea, Jack, those turn cheaters, they like to take free turns consecutively, all that stuff. And what tends to happen with those kind of characters is if they have buffs on them, those turn durations just keep going down because they're always constantly, taking turns. But Arciella is a character that works great with them because, like I said, her buffs act as an aura to them, so they don't necessarily need to worry about, any kind of a duration going down, and then afterwards the buff expires. They can just keep going while Arciella gives them, that oomph that they need from her auras coming from her buffs.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's a great point, is pairing her with the generic buff damage dealer. So like you said, Lightning. Lightning has 0 party auras whatsoever, but she's kind of like a very self-sufficient DPS. Same with King. King's another one, where they give themselves a generic attack up. They give themselves, a generic bravery gen or a max brave up. And so you don't want to pair them, with characters supports that offer those same things. Ideally, you would pair them with someone like, Rosa or, Afmao or Arciella, where, even with Arciella sitting in the corner, having a cup of tea while Lightning is stealing 30 turns, in co-op, that Lightning is going to be hitting for, big damage every turn because Arciella doesn't have to lift a finger.
Definitely, and this is why she's such an excellent support, because auras to the party coming from her buffs. So definitely, I think we've touched upon everything that makes this character so worth it. So I guess we could briefly answer the question: do you think this character is worth pulling for? Should you pull for this character? Is the big question.
Yeah, and with my videos, I usually don't like to dictate and tell people what I'll be doing in terms of drawing, because I do like people to make informed decisions on their own. But I think Arciella is an exception, because Arciella, along with her later June mate Keese, the hype kind of speaks for themselves. A lot of people already know about these characters. Even the people that don't know why these characters are good know that they're worth pulling for, because there's been so much hype. And Arciella, I think, is, at least in my opinion, 100% worth the draw, because she's a very, very, very good support. She's a very, very good debuffer. With that HP silence. That HP silence, you get, 3 turns, and then you have 6 uses of that stance. So, at most, you're looking at 18 turns where the enemy, if they're blocked into using an HP attack, like, again, the Vein Horse, they're just standing there. They're standing there, they're not hurting you, and it allows you to kind of do your thing. HP silence is really worth its weight in gold. And then you factor in her Agrius kind of buffs, where she gives herself 1 buff or 2 buffs, and the whole party immediately benefits from it. And so that allows you so much kind of comp experimentation, because no longer are you locked into, like, okay, I can't use X character because I'll be pushing off buffs. Like, I run into that problem, like, as a rough example, I run into that problem with Beatrix a lot, where Beatrix is at 3 and 3, and she comes in and immediately the entire party has Noble Loyalty, Defense Up, and HP Regen. That's 3 buffs right out the gate. And then Beatrix has her 4th buff, which is, what is it, One-Eyed General or something like that? So that's 4 buffs right out the gate. And so you try and put in a character like Penelo, right? And you're going to just be pushing buffs off all day, and it's extremely frustrating. So I really think a character that is not only a great support, a great debuffer, but she also minds her own business and really just protects the party and boosts them without getting in the way. I really think that you really can't overstate the importance of a character like that, especially as we're getting towards the end of Chaos and it's going to be starting to running some pretty annoying Chaos stages here. Agreed,
100%. So, guys, Soul said it right there, and I'm going to say it too. The character is definitely worth it. I think she's pity worthy, but again, entirely up to you. We don't want to dictate, who you guys should pull for. The most important thing is that you're having fun with the game, and if you're pulling for a favorites always go before the meta. But Arciella, she has that exception to her, so I would still highly recommend, at least maybe throw a multi or 2 or throw some tickets at her, because she will definitely serve you well. She has a lot of utility. She is an amazing team player, and she could definitely be slotted into, numerous party comms and get you through some of the harder content that we're going to be seeing later on in Global Opera Omnia. So that is going to be it for the video, guys. I do again want to give a huge shout out and thanks to my bro Soul DFFOO. I'm going to be leaving the links to his YouTube channel and also to his Discord in the video description, as well as the pinned comments. Be sure to check that out. Soul, before we end this video, any last words for our audience?
Just thank you guys so much for watching. 40, thank you very much for having me. I know we've been talking about trying to do a collab, ever since Renoa, and just because of things coming up, and 2020 is quite the year to remember so far. So there's been a lot going on, but I really appreciate you having me. And I'm going to go off script for a second, 40. We didn't really talk about this, but I just want to kind of throw this in there at the end. From me and the community and many, many people, thank you for coming back and doing something that you love. For people that don't know, 40 was at a point where he was wondering if he wanted to keep making Opera Omnia content, you know, because this video thing, it might seem easy and glorious and all the accolades, but in reality, it's a lot of work. And some people just, you know, trolls exist, and there's going to be people that tear you down no matter how successful you are or how good you are. And so 40 was thinking about maybe kind of pulling away from doing this for a little bit, and you know, you came back, and I just want to say thank you, because us smaller channels, I mean, you know, I guess I'm somewhat larger than the average Opera Omnia creator, but I mean, saying I look up to you is an understatement. You know, you're kind of like the granddaddy of this community at this point, and we all really, you know, rely on you and your input and just your energy, man. You do this the right way. And so, going off script, but yeah, thank you, man, for coming back. We all appreciate it, and we love you. And you know, there might be some people that tear you down, but I promise you, for everyone that tears you down, there's 10 more willing to pick you back up. So thank you, man. We really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for the kind words, bro. That means a lot. It's because of the community and because of people like you, and also the extra steps that I took, you know, to decide to come back sooner than I thought, because, you know, I didn't want to make it seem like I just threw in the towel and I just gave up. And two, I really do love this community. I love all my fellow bros, you know, that create the content, and even some of the other, you know, upcoming content creators. You know, I just want to be there and, you know, just build this community and just enjoy this game that we all love, that encompasses, you know, a series that's been out since like the late 80s, that, you know, holds a lot of memories, a lot of, you know, good times that we can look back on, you know, and all these characters that remind us of that. So definitely, it's you guys that kept me going, and I really appreciate all the love and support and everything. So I love you guys too. But yeah, thank you again, Soul, for everything. This is going to be the end of the video. Thank you guys again for watching. Again, don't forget, check out Soul's YouTube channel and Discord. But stay tuned for the next video. Stay tuned for the next potential collab. And take care, guys. Have a good one.
Take it easy, everybody. Thank you for watching, and be safe.